Imagine if I told you that instead of bringing a statement to court today, Erica Mena arrived with a loaded weapon. No, we're not talking about a gun. Rather, we're talking about files that were so damaging and poisonous that the judge had to pause the session in the middle of it, play the audio, calmly, as if seeing that the room was about to go up. She remarked, "Your Honor." Then, in a matter of seconds, a voice said, "Delete the records. I'll handle Erica later." Pause. Mendeecees turned white, and his lawyer, almost the courtroom dead silent file was dropped. Where did this originate? How long has Erica been holding this? Why did she wait until now to go nuclear? Is this retaliation, protection, or Erica's last statement, "I'm done playing the victim," because of what transpired next, which included producers yelling, fans sobbing, and one juror requesting an exception? You may believe you have heard the entire tale, but you haven't. Stay put, because if these stolen files are authentic, Mendeecees is not simply. The courtroom was packed, with every seat occupied, every camera rolling silently, and every pair of eyes focused on one woman, Erica Mena. She was dressed in black, as if she had come to bury someone or something. She sat down calmly, yet she had a folder so thick that it appeared like a tiny coffin for Mendeecees' career. Then it began. "Ms. Mena, do you have anything to provide as proof?" Her lawyer said, "Yes, Your Honor, and we're sending sealed papers that were previously shielded by an NDA, such as text logs, audio files, and video clips pertinent to the boom." The room shifted, everybody leaned forward, and even Mendeecees appeared to have just bitten into something unpleasant. What did she have, and why did she wait so long? Let's go back a moment. This was no longer just about a DNA test. Wasn't just about whether or not Mendeecees was concealing something. This was a war, televised and irrevocable. You see, people had been skeptical ever before Erica started making hints online that things weren't as they seemed. The cryptic tweets and the Instagram story where everyone assumed she was grieving when she zoomed in on a receipt of baby shoes with the remark, "Hope." However, weeks before to this court case, an anonymous Reddit account shared what appeared to be images of men's. He talked about shutting Erica down before she goes to court in those texts, which were sent under the burner name Dre R. At the time, the screenshots were written off as phony Photoshop trolls, but today they were Exhibit A, and the courtroom sensed it as Erica leaned in. As the A voice purportedly, Mendeecees said, "You think I'm going to let her take everything? I'll delete the trail before she ever does," as the courtroom speakers crackled and the judge granted authority to unseal a portion of the evidence. Her lawyer then tapped the play button on a little device. Mendeecees' attorney instantly objected, saying, "Your Honor, we question the authenticity of this audio. It could be AI generated." Erica's attorney grinned. "We've had it forensically. Verified." Gasp audible, unstoppable. Even reporters dropped their pens. 3 weeks ago, this was no longer a courtroom, but rather a crime scene. And the weapon was Erica's voice, her receipts, and her timing. Then the messages appeared on a screen, time-stamped, GPS tagged, and the voice was verified by an independent lab. Conversations between two DCs and someone just identified as C, who was thought to have been a former assistant, were so huge that you could read every punctuation point. They talked about transferring funds out of joint accounts, hiring a ghostwriter for legal responses, and how to fabricate everything before Mona discovers it. As with Mona Scott Young, the executive producer of Love and Hip Hop, whose name was floated, it became evident that this was more than a baby mother drama. It was a network liability. Meanwhile, the audience outside the courtroom consisted of millions of fans, bloggers, and Reddit was melting Instagram Live, Twitter was on fire, and conspiracy threads were going crazy. There were blurry screenshots and exclusive replies from individuals claiming to know Erica's cousin, while Mendeecees sat with his jaw frozen and his eyes darting. Omar Rosa, Erica's sister, was spotted wiping away tears as the evidence came in. One reporter heard her mumble, "He forced her to do this even though she didn't want to." The Exhibit BA digital folder named Baby Proof Plan then appeared, final. It was a scanned contract, a confidentiality agreement signed by Erica Mendeecees, and a third party whose identity had been obscured. The date was 3 weeks prior to the DNA test, and no one realized what it meant until the first image appeared. Erica had consented to the document's requirement that any custody or settlement discussions pertaining to test results be kept off the record until she learned that Mendeecees had allegedly falsified the initial DNA documentation. That's correct. The court then saw a side-by-side comparison of two DNA findings, both of which identified different dads but the same child's name. Erica's legal team claimed that the report she had received had been tampered with, and they were able to get the original lab results, using a sealed subpoena that was filed 2 weeks prior, straight from the source. You know what? The father was named as Menace on both, but in one of the versions that were delivered to Erica, his name was changed to inconclusive. The question now became, who altered it? When the journalist outside asked the woman who had just gotten up and exited the back row, who was later identified as Mendeecees' cousin, why and how far does this go? She only replied, he's been lying. To all of us. Erica was still inside. Under oath, I wasn't trying to ruin him. I was trying to protect my son from lies, she replied, her hands shaking only once. The judge interrupted the proceedings to ask for a little break, but not before delivering a severe warning. Reminder: any interference with evidence or threats of tampering will not be accepted by this court. And then, suddenly, there was silence. Erica briefly left the building, but Menace remained inside, head down, surrounded by legal aid, whispering to his lawyer. But then something unexpected happened. A reporter was inside the courtroom when an insider sent a live message suggesting that there was more video, not just audio, that could supposedly position Mendeecees was at the lab on the day the fake report was made, even though he claimed to be out of state. If this was true, it suggested that this was deliberate fraud rather than just perjury. Erica returned to the courtroom as break ended, whispering into her phone. The judge took their seats, the courtroom fell still, and her lawyer stepped up and said, "Your Honor, we have video." The judge nodded slightly. A murmur echoed as the judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing behind rimless spectacles. "Cut to audio. This is going live," a producer said somewhere in the rear of the courtroom. A thin black USB drive was set on the evidence table by Erica's attorney. "We are introducing security film taken from AA Lab parking lot in Newark, dated the day before the manipulated results were released, is the private source that clearly contradicts the defendant's prior alibi." The judge posed the question in a cautious but fascinated tone, and the screen lit up as the lights came on. He reportedly entered the building by a side door, wearing a hoodie and a black cap pulled down. He had no entourage, no paparazzi, and no excuses. The timestamp showed the precise day he informed the court he was in Atlanta filming a reunion special. The defense finally remarked, "Your Honor," as the room fell into a quiet so thick that the playback felt like thunder. His lawyer was about to protest until the video zoomed in just enough to show a reflection in the glass door, his face as clear as day. As the screen went black, Erica lowered her eyes and murmured something to her lawyer. "We contest the authenticity of this footage. It may have been staged, but the judge raised a hand. Let's take a 5-minute break. I want both sides to prepare their next arguments." Menace's mother was sitting behind him, clutching her rosary, and he grabbed for a bottle of water, missed it, and let his hand fall limp on the table. Outside the courthouse, the mayhem struck full speed, and bloggers were already uploading. Breakdowns. Our Erica bombshell. A cotton cam. Exclusive mails captured on film hashtags burst fake daddy files. One admirer said, "I believed in this man, I defended him, he played all of us." Another said, "She held this like a nuke," and awaited the courtroom's queen behavior to explode. Then the internet went crazy when Mona Scott Young's verified account uploaded a single emoji. Before we could continue, the judge slowly remarked, "I'm issuing a temporary gag order. No party is to discuss or release anything else about this case to the public until these evidentiary concerns are fully resolved." He returned inside, looking much more serious now. The genie was already out of the bottle and it wasn't going back in. Erica then took the stand, facing the jury. "I was afraid when I first found out I was pregnant, but I thought we'd figure it out," she said. "Together," she said in a trembling voice. And then everything began to fade. Calls stopped coming in. I asked for clarification, but I received confusion. I asked for honesty, and I received paperwork. The courtroom listened breathlessly. and she said, "I didn't want to come here with all of this. Mendeecees didn't need to look up since his name was already blazing on every screen in the nation, and the prosecution dropped the case. However, when someone begins to rewrite reality behind your back, you only have two options: either disclose the truth or survive the lie." The day's last blow was a leaked email, which wasn't sent by Erica, but was purportedly acquired by an unidentified third party and sent to the court's protected inbox. In it, a man claiming to be CM, possibly one of Mendeecees' old business associates, managers talk about using emotional leverage to postpone the DNA request until after the baby is born. Once the baby is born, her feelings will subside, and she won't want the drama anymore. Believe me, the judge stopped reading aloud, and this court is now considering contempt. Erica left with her head held high, accompanied by lawyers and an obviously startled Omar Rosa, who mouthed, "You did." "Charges if any tampering is proven," he said firmly, adding, "and I advise counsel to prepare accordingly, boom. Anything." As they stepped past the media wall, Mendeecees stayed behind, staring at nothing. He didn't move for nearly 5 minutes after the judge exited. One reporter noted his lawyer whispered, "We need a statement tonight." By dusk, the internet was in a frenzy as anonymous TikTok accounts shared modified bits of the lab footage with sound effects from horror films. Fan-made edits appeared, with some portraying Erica as a hero and others raising doubts about her intentions. Then came the fans flooded the comments with Mendeecees' initial unofficial answer, which was a hazy Instagram story with white writing and no audio. "Not everything you see is true, and not everyone talking honestly. Does that imply you're accusing her of lying?" In the meantime, Erica's side moved quickly to take action. Her public relations team issued a brief statement, saying that Erica came to court seeking peace rather than disruption, and only presented evidence after being silenced and obstructed repeatedly. This is about the truth for the following morning. TMZ published a shocking headline that read, "VH1 executives panic as footage confirms Erica's version." It seems that producers had looked over old security tape from the reunion. She and her child appear sympathetic, perhaps strategically, tapings, and learned that Mendeecees had abruptly departed the set on the day in question. According to reports, one producer stated, "We're scrubbing episodes right now." The fans weren't waiting. They were already delving deeply, cross-referencing background objects and wardrobe timestamps in an attempt to demonstrate that the reunion film that was shown didn't correspond with the real events. Reddit threads labeled, "Erica was right all along," received 20,000 more votes overnight, but the most startling turn of all was perhaps. Later that afternoon, a fresh audio came to light. This time, Erica did not leak it. Rather, it was an anonymous voicemail given to many gossip sites simultaneously. In it, a man who is thought to be Mendeecees is heard saying, "If the news hits, I'll deny." The audio was choppy and fuzzy, but the damage was clean. Within hours, people were saying things that no one had dared to say before he tried to erase her. Just make sure she doesn't have a copy of anything. With a gospel song playing in the background, Erica posted a mysterious video clip on her page with no words. The caption said, "No more silence. People weren't just watching this scandal anymore. They were living it. They chose sides, made fan." The question now wasn't whether Mendeecees had lied, but rather how much. Accounts began counting down to the next hearing. One user tweeted, "She held on to the receipts like a queen and waited until the courtroom had no choice but to listen. We stand. There is more that we haven't seen yet, because neither Erica nor the court were finished." The doors of the courthouse opened, and Erica returned with her eyes clenched tightly around her kid. The judge behind his bench adjusted his Mendeecees' shoulders squared, his voice, previously full of conviction, quivered, and he gestured for the last proceedings to continue. The atmosphere was palpable, with every cell phone raising and every liver stream counting down. "Your Honor, before we go any further, I have a statement." He cleared his throat. "The video that was shown today doesn't support Ms. Mena's accusations that I was at that lab, but I was retrieving a court document that wasn't altered." He paused, looking at Erica, and said, "I would never lie about my paternity or my obligations as a father." The defense counsel then requested that this court take into account the circumstances, because my client's heart was in the same spot, and we have evidence that a second USB emerged. It was from Mendeecees' teenager. His lawyer plugged it in and hit play, and the courtroom speakers hissed, but nothing occurred. The error message said that the file was corrupted. The judge scowled and said, "Counsel, are you claiming the opposing side tampered with defense evidence?" The defense attorney stammered, "No, Your Honor," as others outside yelled fraud and others mumbled sabotage. However, the public smelt foul play, and Erica's lawyer rose without incident. "Your Honor, if the defense's own papers are untrustworthy, we only rely on our previously shown video and verified audio texts." He sat nodding once, as if closing the case. Omar Rosa bit her lip in the back, while Mendeecees looked around the room, eyes darting for aid that wasn't coming. His once loyal cousin sat stiff-faced, no tears in sight, just a mute accusation. The prosecution then called in their last witness, a specialist in digital forensics. He described how every file that Erica's team presented had consistent signatures, but the defense's new evidence had mismatched coding that indicated post-production manipulation. He was brief and equipped with charts of metadata timestamps. Following his conclusion, the jurors exchanged worried glances, with one juror even making notes about potential misbehavior. Next, a mutual acquaintance and boyhood buddy named Tillman gave an emotional testimony, recounting private texts he got from Mendeecees last year expressing contrition. The room shook as he read the direct messages, his voice cracking as he said, "I fear I'll lose everything, including our son's future, if I don't control the narrative." This friend, who had previously been impartial, now carried the weight of past allegiance turned witness. As the jury walked out, Erica turned to the cameras and said, "I did this for my baby," in a low, whispered voice, "not vengeance, truth." The judge waved the jury away to deliberate on evidence tampering before addressing the paternity question. Her eyes were fixed on Mendeecees, who turned away as the courtroom lights reflected the tears he was unable to control. Outside, the press was flooded with shouts of victory and cover-up, and social media was exploding. Car truth wines were trending alongside tossed. 2 hours after the judge returned Mendeecees' Rose attempt at confidence, bloggers analyzed every word and frame of the phony files, speculating about how severely Mendeecees' reputation would be damaged. Mendeecees' face was devoid of color when the judge spoke about the supposed defense evidence, which I believed to be credible proof of tampering. He fell into his seat, and the collective gasp in the courtroom became louder. "A formal contempt hearing will be held after this. Then any decision." The judge then turned to the main topic of paternity and co-parenting, ordering that voluntary DNA testing be done right away under my supervision. Any attempt to postpone this without a valid medical reason will be regarded. When the judge finally ended, Erica let out a cry of relief and whispered, "This court stands adjourned until the testing is complete." Good day, Erica and Mendeecees, left as one side rushed forward and the other side left in shock. Cameras caught everyone in disbelief. Later in the corridor, Erica murmured to her lawyer, "I just want peace." He nodded. "You'll get it now that the truth is coming." Erica tightened her grip on her kid. Mendeecees gave the world a brief, sincere smile that was the result of victory and maternal passion before withdrawing to a private room. His lawyer, War, gave him a somber advice. "He needs to prove he's a father now. There's nothing left but action." Mendeecees agreed, his face hardening. "I'll do whatever it takes." That evening, both camps mobilized, and Mendeecees set up the DNA appointment with Erica's team. Both solicitors made public remarks. Erica talked about moving on for her child, while he talked about finding clarity and making amends. However, the true shock occurred when an unidentified social media source shared a clip of unedited court audio, where although the video was swiftly taken down, it stoked rumors about the outcome in the days leading up to the test, as the judge was heard off the record remarking, "This child deserves more than drama, he deserves the truth." Divided into two groups. One organized prayer vigils for Erica and her son's future, while the other posted lines of support for Mendeecees in the hopes that he would be saved. Meanwhile, a gossip site made predictions about the DNA lab's data, security, and the lab they would select. Erica then shared a picture of a pair of tiny baby socks on a sleek glass table next to a courthouse appointment slip at dawn on the day of the test, with the caption, "One step closer to truth." Mendeecees then responded with a sunrise photo over the metropolis. The stage was prepared, the last act was arranged, and one tiny DNA sample would permanently change their story. But here's where it gets juicy. Insiders say a judge-ordered third party will oversee the test, and leaks are not permitted. Without their typical source of entertainment, fans started making predictions about every scenario that could happen. Would Mendeecees have to pay support? Would they reunite? Would Erica's teary expression return if the child wasn't his? The comments went crazy. This is the most honest moment they'll ever share. We're all holding our breath, so precisely where we abandon it at the edge of truth, as that swab strikes the everything in the lab alters reputation, family future. Therefore, please let me know what I believe that Mendeecees will finally accept responsibility, or will this DNA test be another drop your theories below bombshell? Let's find out who has the inside scoop, to be carried on in our special episode DNA Day. The ultimate decision